streaking at my best friend's house. And her brother bumped into me. Sorry. Without waiting for me to react. The person at the door quickly turned his head and closed the door. I was petrified in place. My mind was full of that familiar handsome face just now. The hairdryer I was using as a microphone was still buzzing. I was fully dressed and sitting on the edge of the bed when my best friend Jenna Grant came in. I didn't look up at her with my brows furrowed in a pensive manner. Thoughts were still in turmoil. That's weird. Just now my brother actually stuttered and came up here and didn't take what he wanted. He had to make me run. Sophie. Do you know what's wrong? Jenna Grant muttered, wondering as she headed for her bookshelf. Jenna Grant's words smoothed out my jumbled thoughts for a moment. The scene I had just witnessed slowly came back to me. I was pretending to be Beyoncé on my microphone. And because I was so high, I was excited to do a wild, spontaneous, shirtless, naked street dance. I'm sorry. Dr. Ethan Grant's low, slightly panicked voice rings in my ears. My eyes went black and I wanted to hit the wall and die. Jenna Grant. Do you realize that the hairdryer in your bathroom is broken? I questioned her hopelessly. Jenna Grant walked up to me with her medical book in hand. Oh. I forgot to tell you. What? Isn't there one here? She pointed to the tool of the trade next to her and looked at me. I was momentarily speechless. There is. But do you know what extraordinary thing just happened? Why did your brother suddenly come over? I asked next, crying my eyes out. Jenna Grant had moved out on her own after her senior year. And this was the first time I had ever met her brother at her house. Jenna Grant held up the book in front of her. I'm here to pick up a book. Don't you know my brother well? I'll let him come right up. Well, I'll go ahead and give him the book, said the man, leaving the room with a face full of clear stupidity. I declare, Jenna Grant is frenemy. Where there is such a pitiful bosom friend. Ugh. What now? I covered my face and collapsed under the soft covers. The shame of hindsight slowly obliterating me. As a senior medical student, I will be assigned to a clinical internship at Central City Hospital as soon as May arrives. Dr. Ethan Grant was the famous miracle worker of Central City Hospital. Dr. Ethan Grant is Central City Hospital's famous surgical miracle worker. A man who maintains a 100% success rate in his surgeries. He is so talented and good-looking that the number of people who come to see him every year is so high that they can leave the province. I had been looking up to him as a role model since I was a child. And I was looking forward to my internship until then. But now, after the Beyoncé incident, I've been avoiding him for a month. Even Jenna Grant I don't see. For the nth time. After being harshly refused by my mentor to change my internship hospital, I compromised. There are no men or women in the eyes of a doctor. Dr. Ethan Grant performs so many surgeries every day that he has seen not 100 but 200 naked bodies. What am I afraid of? I'm sure he's already forgotten. Yes. He's forgotten. With this kind of luck, I came to Central City Hospital for my internship. The director assigned me to Dr. Ethan Grant. I didn't know whether to be happy or sad. The director smiled and congratulated me. Sophie Bennett. Dr. Grant has made an exception this year and you've made it. The other interns on the side all cast envious glances at me. Especially the female students who came here specifically for Dr. Ethan Grant. Hearing this, I was a bit fluttery. The feeling of happiness briefly overpowered the sense of shame in my heart. Following the director's instructions, I found Dr. Ethan Grant's office. The door wasn't closed tightly and opened automatically when I knocked. I clutched the information in my hands and looked inside curiously. There was no one inside. And I was inexplicably relieved. Dr. Ethan Grant's office area had left a small space empty. And a chair that was obviously not suitable for his height was placed next to it. Visually, it should be for me. I walked over and saw the pink cushion on top of the chair. And a hidden sweetness inexplicably surged through my heart. I giggled and sat down. And in my amusement, exaggeratedly teetered and spun around twice. Ahem. A woman's cough startled me out of my chair. The first thought was that I was in the wrong office. Excuse me. I hurriedly climbed up and carried the information I had just put on the desk into my arms and was about to walk towards the door. When I looked up, I saw Dr. Ethan Grant standing there. I froze in place. His gaze was still fixed on me, a smile still on his lips. Next to him stood the woman who had just coughed. One of the lab coat wavy-haired female doctors. The female doctor turned her head to Dr. Ethan Grant with a smile on her face and a somewhat pouty look on her face. How come I assigned you such a good-looking intern? Let's switch between us. You know. I'm face-controlled. Dr. Ethan Grant's eyes shifted from me and his expression returned to indifference. His tone flatly rejected her. You can go to the director for someone else. She's mine. Oh ho ho. I'm his. Although it was a simple sentence, it made me think. The female doctor's expression froze and she tried to speak but was interrupted again by Dr. Ethan Grant. Remember to knock next time. Don't scare people. This sentence implicitly gave the order of expulsion. And the female doctor had to leave in embarrassment. I, who hadn't said a word since the beginning, stood beside the powder-cushioned chair with some anxiety. In my heart, I was anxious. Although I had convinced myself earlier. But I had no idea if he had really forgotten about that night. I thought about the look on the female doctor's face just now. And at the same time, I was nervous. Thinking, sure enough, he's not only popular with the patients but also with his colleagues. Dr. Ethan Grant closed the door gently behind him. And his face softened a bit as he turned around. The cushions are still comfortable. Aren't they? Dr. Ethan Grant took off his lab coat and hung it on a tree hanger, revealing his superior waist and hips in a white shirt. I gulped, my eyes staring uncontrollably at his arse. It's quite comfortable. Dr. Ethan Grant turned around and I hastily averted my eyes. I just went downstairs to pick you up. I didn't realize you came up here on your own. He slowly walked over and sat down in his office chair, lifting his eyelashes, his dark eyes staring up at me. Come to my house for dinner tonight. Mom and Dad are celebrating Jenna Grant's first day of her internship and asked me to pick you up too. What's there to celebrate about an internship? But aunts and uncles do love a good time. When I think of Mom and Dad leaving me at home while the two of them go abroad to have a good time, I can't help but feel angry. Other people's parents. Alas. I nodded my head towards him obediently. Got it. Dr. Ethan Grant nodded back, the tenderness on his face frozen in his eyes. I don't know why, but ever since I was a little girl, my best friend's brother has been very gentle with me. Even after the Beyoncé incident that night, he didn't seem to be affected in the slightest. I slowly concluded in my mind that he should have gotten over it. When I thought of this, my whole body instantly relaxed. First day of internship. Happy. The work stayed fresh and there were handsome guys to look at. In the meantime, I would be called away from time to time to observe the condition of patients. And Dr. Ethan Grant would accompany me silently. What a responsible teacher. Finally, it was time to leave work. I followed Dr. Ethan Grant to the hospital parking lot. Because I let go of the stigma in my heart. I slowly recovered my chatterbox attributes and kept asking him about the symptoms of the patients today. Because their illnesses were a bit disobedient and not born according to the book. The desire to know made me ignore Dr. Ethan Grant's increasingly ugly face. Still, he patiently explains while pulling open the passenger door for me. I pause and smile sweetly toward him. Thanks. Dr. Ethan Grant droops his eyelids and tugs at the corners of his mouth to smile. When he then came up from the other side, once I saw his face I picked up where I left off with my question. Slowly the only voice left in the car was mine. It wasn't until he leaned over to help me fasten my seatbelt that I snapped to silence. The sky outside the window cast into the car an ambiguous dimness. His eyes were downcast, his long raven-feathered lashes casting shadows. His faint breath spilling onto my face. My face heated up. My brain short-circuited in that moment. And I reached out to touch his near eyes in a ghostly manner. Dr. Ethan Grant. You're so good looking and fit. Thoughts jumped around too quickly in my brain and obviously didn't catch up with my mouth. He looks over. His eyes becoming darker than they were a moment ago. The sound of a seatbelt going into the buckle came. Thanks. You have a nice body too. Me. There was a brain buzz and I regained my senses instantly. Huh? What do you mean? Huh? He remembers? That's not true. Is it? Dr. Ethan Grant sat back. His silent eyes reflecting the starlight of the night. Finally overflowing with the ghost of a smile. Sophie Bennett. Focusing on the patient all the time will make your brain tired. Next time you can look at other people to divert your attention. After saying that, the slender white hands killed the steering wheel to reverse out of the parking space. Then the car started and drove towards his house. Until I got out of the car, I looked like a quail. My face was even hot enough to cook rice. As soon as the car stopped, I hurriedly rolled out of the car and ran familiarly into their house. Jenna Grant was sitting on the couch with her cell phone swiping videos and giggling. The aunt and uncle seemed to be busy in the kitchen. After saying hello to my aunt and uncle, I grabbed Jenna Grant by the neck and pushed her into the couch. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Jenna Grant was full of confusion and stared at me with eyes similar to Dr. Ethan Grant's. What? What's wrong? I can't stand to see you so happy. I said angrily. I can't say that you're the one to blame for me being looked at by your brother. Brother? Were you too mean to Sophie on your first day of internship? Brother? I looked back. Dr. Ethan Grant leaned in the entrance hall. I don't know how long he had been looking at me. His deep eyes were stained with a few wisps of spoiled smile. That's right. Spoiled. My heart was weak. And I quickly sat up and ran into the kitchen to help my aunt and uncle. At the dinner table, I sweetly coaxed my aunt and uncle to laugh incessantly. But I no longer said a word to Dr. Ethan Grant. Jenna Grant looked at Dr. Ethan Grant and me strangely, not knowing why. She was probably wondering why I didn't flatter his brother as much as I used to. Toward the end of the celebration, Mom and Dad called me across the ocean. After first greeting my aunt and uncle, Jenna Grant, Dr. Ethan Grant, they began to speak to me. Sophie, I heard from your Uncle John that you had your first day of internship today. Congratulations. Congratulations. You ate quite well. Dad pushed Mom out of the way and his big face filled the whole screen. I was speechless. Mr. Song MS. Lee. When you come back you'd better bring a gift that satisfies me. Or you'll lose me as a darling. MS. Lee on the other side of the screen heard this and immediately snatched her phone up. Sophie baby. Mom has matched you with a gringo hottie. Blonde. With the same gym rat body you like. There was no time to turn off the speaker. And as soon as the words gym rat came out, I subconsciously looked over at Dr. Ethan Grant. He just happened to look over as well. His gaze flashing with a hint of coolness if anything. I was about to deny it cheekily when my mom turned the camera directly to the blonde boy. I slowly opened my eyes wide and locked them with his. Oh my God. My mom has a good eye. He's handsome to my heart. Hello. Honey. A low, sexy baritone voice came from the cell phone screen, instantly making me blush. Aha! Jenna Grant screams in my ear. Auntie. Kiss Auntie. Me too. My emotions were so infected that I almost forgot the occasion and was about to verbally flirt with look at the abs when the sharp sound of a chair being pulled away came to my ears. I blushed and furrowed my brows in the direction of the noise and was met with a pair of dark eyes. The flash of hostility in Dr. Ethan Grant's eyes scared me into hanging up the video in my hand. Dr. Ethan Grant walked towards me and reached out and yanked my wrist to lift me up. I'll take her home, he said, pulling me toward the door without a second thought. Sensitively tasting a hint of danger, I cast a pleading look toward Jenna Grant. She had just been screaming in oblivion. But now her mouth was tightly shut. My aunt and uncle looked at us and cast a satisfied look. Me. On the way back, the car was dead silent. In the afterglow, Dr. Ethan Grant was still pressing his eyebrows. His eyes not quite in the right mood. What words had gotten under his skin? The abs? 2 words flashed through his mind. And his eyes involuntarily went towards his abdomen. He didn't have abs? That's why he's angry? The car was parked under my house. I thanked him and opened the door to get out. But the door wouldn't open. I looked back at Dr. Ethan Grant, who was still cold-faced. If you don't open the door, I can't get off. Dr. Ethan Grant looked over. The emotions in his eyes I could no longer read. You like abs? Why didn't I know? Huh? I was baffled. He'd be surprised if he knew anything like that. I snorted. Why? It's not like it's a bright hobby. That kind of thing. Dr. Ethan Grant's deep eyes flickered a few times in succession as he listened. In the dimness, my hand was suddenly held by Dr. Ethan Grant. I subconsciously struggled a few times. And was held tighter by him. I was full of doubts. And the cold fingertips gripping my wrist were already tingling. Dr. Ethan Grant. I weakly called out to him. Dr. Ethan Grant did not respond. Still staring straight at me. His hands were not stopping. His hand was tugged to probe under the hem of his shirt. I tensed to the point of closing my eyes. I've never been in a real fight. Even though I'm high-mouthed. Look at the way you've just been staring. Dr. Ethan Grant's muffled voice punctured the horny act I'd just committed. I didn't have time to argue. But a wave of heat washed over me. Warm, firm touch came from my fingertips. 1 piece. 2 pieces. 3 pieces. As soon as I touched it, my hand recoiled shamefully and uneducated. And so, both shyly and nervously, I touched Dr. Ethan Grant naked. It wasn't until I almost touched the wrong spot that Dr. Ethan Grant gently tugged my hand out. Inside the car, his breath was ruffled and he seemed to be breathing a few times heavier. Get out of the car and go home. And don't be late tomorrow. The voice is also hoarse beyond words. I nodded numbly and stepped out of the car with weak steps. Tonight's dream was destined to be a springtime one. After last night, I'm beyond certain. Dr. Ethan Grant likes me. Heh heh heh. Should I take the initiative? I thought happily. Clutching the progress notes I'd just filled out as I headed for my office. I found the wavy-haired Dr. Lauren Mills standing in front of a hospital room with Dr. Ethan Grant. Dr. Ethan Grant seemed to be a bit lost in thought. And Dr. Lauren Mills didn't react even though she was about to jump on him. Hey. Dr. Lauren Mills and Dr. Jiang are a good match. 2 nurses walked past me and gossiped as they looked over. I deflated. What kind of match is there? One is tall and the other is short. One has long hair and the other has short hair. One has big eyes and the other has small eyes. So where is the match? I hold progress notes frustrated back to the office. The leisure of the internship did not last long. Dr. Ethan Grant was also very busy. He was the surgeon in charge of all the surgeries one after another. The first assistant was Dr. Lauren Mills. With human lives at stake, I didn't develop any more gloom and doom. I did not get any more dark thoughts. Although I did get a look of inexplicable pride from Dr. Lauren Mills from time to time. Without Dr. Ethan Grant's guidance, I also diligently became a brick. I moved wherever I was needed. I even brought them takeout several times. When I encountered problems, I also tried to solve them myself. Dr. Ethan Grant was working hard. And the fatigue on his brow made me reluctant to disturb him. I've noticed, though, that when he's relaxed, he likes to stare at me in awe. Maybe that's what he meant by staring at someone to divert his attention. The ambiguous atmosphere of that night, and the embarrassing Beyoncé incident seemed to be washed away by the busyness as well. This busyness lasted for almost a month before it eased. That day, I was walking back from picking up takeout when I met Dr. Ethan Grant in the hallway, who seemed to be looking for someone. His eyes lit up when he saw me. Just as I was about to greet him with a wide grin, he suddenly sprinted over to me and wrapped me in his arms. The familiar scent of his body mixed with a trace of antiseptic water entered my nose. And I froze in this warm embrace. The nurses and doctors passing by all looked on in amazement. I gently nudged him. Did something happen? Dr. Ethan Grant shook his head. And his tone was actually a bit depressed and aggravated. Just had a dream. After a moment's reprieve, he continued. Do you mind if I have so little time? I suspected that he was tired of saying this in public. I blushed and pushed him away, looking at him firmly. Mr. Gang, you are my role model. The people's role model. I wouldn't mind you even if I minded my father. Dr. Ethan Grant froze for a moment. His expression loosened. And then he let out a softly related laugh. He seemed to be about to say something else when he was interrupted by the oncoming Dr. Lauren Mills. Thank you. Song. Dr. Lauren Mills took the takeout from my hand and stood beside Dr. Ethan Grant with an elegant smile. Looking at this scene, although my heart was a little uncomfortable, I still nodded. But I didn't expect her to directly throw the takeout she just got into the trash can next to me. And then look at me with an apologetic face. Tonight's hospital potluck. So I made you come all the way for nothing. This insulting action was rightfully made by her to her face. I couldn't help but get fired up in my heart as well. Dr. Ethan Grant frowned at the situation and pulled me over. Not even giving her a look before leading me away. You get a mark for contradicting a doctor-teacher during your internship. The evening party was to celebrate the record-breaking performance this month. Dr. Ethan Grant was still the main contributor. The director made it a point that Dr. Ethan Grant and I were not to be absent. Hospital parties are still a bit shocking. They crunched on their meals while chatting about the colon vomit and pee situation. Although I was used to it at school, it was still a bit unnerving to watch this group of people with their lab coats off sitting in a normal restaurant and talking about it. Dr. Ethan Grant was toasted by the director and other doctors. By the end of the party, Dr. Ethan Grant's neck and ears were pink. I nibbled on the chicken claw head pinched for me while curiously watching his reaction. The rolling throat. The slightly drunken eyes. The perfect side of his face. The more I looked, the faster my heart beat. And my face, which was dripping with alcohol, turned a shade of red. After the party, Dr. Lauren Mills was so drunk that she couldn't even walk steadily. But she was still strong enough to wiggle over and shyly ask Dr. Ethan Grant to give her a ride. However, Dr. Ethan Grant was also drunk. Dr. Ethan Grant looked over at Dr. Lauren Mills. His eyebrows knit tightly and his expression unusually serious. You're really annoying. Your hair looks like a broomstick. Your face looks like a plate. And if you ever let Sophie get takeout again, it'll make you get her takeout 100 times. Director on the side. Me. 6. Dr. Ethan Grant was so thoroughly drunk that he verbally scolded Dr. Lauren Mills hard enough to cry. I guess I was afraid to see anyone the next day. The driving became me. I helped Dr. Ethan Grant into the passenger side and fastened his seatbelt before returning to the main driver's seat. Dr. Ethan Grant was staring at me with those dark and confused eyes the whole time. So well behaved. All the time we pulled up to his house, he was staring straight at me, occasionally picking at my shirt with his hand. My heart softened into a marshmallow in those 10 short minutes, still bubbling with the sweet fishy smell. The evil thoughts that had leapt to the surface all the way to the car stopped and surged outward in a frenzy. I simply couldn't bear to let such a good Dr. Ethan Grant go home like that. Do something now that he shouldn't remember tomorrow. I unbuckle my own seatbelt and slowly look toward him. I still want to touch Dr. Ethan Grant. I gulped and looked at him with glowing eyes, reaching out my devilish hand. Click. A sound of a seatbelt unbuckling fell. The scent of wine hit my face and the face in front of me kept zooming in and out. I'll touch you. You kiss me. Dr. Ethan Grant's voice was sexy beyond words at the moment. His breath pressing ambiguously closer and closer. I'll touch you. You kiss me. How could a drunk man say something so logical? without having time to think about it. His lips were covered by a softness, followed by the familiar tightness of his hand. It was so exciting. I responded to this wine-scented kiss with a dazed mind. Eventually the lips were pried open and fell completely. The price of indulgence was a kissed lip. As I debated whether or not to go to work, a message from Dr. Ethan Grant popped up on my cell phone. I remember everything from last night. I was still secretly hoping that he wouldn't remember my horny look from last night when I was instantly frustrated. I hatefully returned. Would Dr. Lauren Mills dare to see you today? There was a long silence. Sophie. We're already boyfriend and girlfriend. According to normal human affairs. Is this his way of asking me to give him a name? I let out a low laugh. That boyfriend. I don't want to go to work today. The chat log is stuck here again. I'm a little uneasy. Will he hate the words I said? As a result, the opposite side of the aggrieved sent a sentence. But I was downstairs at your house an hour ago. I even bought your favorite breakfast. Pfft. I cleaned up a bit. Stepped downstairs with a leaping step. As soon as we got to the car, I pointed to the cut on my lip and accused him. You kissed it. Dr. Ethan Grant's ears reddened. Next time, I'll be more gentle. Now I was blushing. No one told me that people could get flirty when they were together. When we arrived at the hospital, Dr. Ethan Grant held my hand tightly and walked into the hospital openly. He seemed to be enjoying himself. When I got to the office door, I met Dr. Lauren Mills with red and swollen eyes. I uncontrollably thought of the line. Hair like a mop. Face like a plate. I stifle a laugh to avoid her gaze. Dr. Lauren Mills saw our hands together and froze before her eyes reddened to a more exaggerated color. I expected her to say something, but she just covered her face and turned away. I held back a laugh and looked over at Dr. Ethan Grant. I realized that Dr. Ethan Grant had already looked down at me. The corners of his eyes swept open a smile, looking at me with amusement, as if he thought I was very funny at the moment. I was mesmerized in an instant and stood on my tiptoes to give him a kiss. Dr. Ethan Grant looked stunned, pulled me into his office, gently closed the door, and was about to lower his head for a kiss. I hastily covered his mouth. Broken. Dr. Ethan Grant swept his lips over mine before kissing me on the neck. Being in a relationship with one's teacher, especially with Dr. Ethan Grant, solving problems is much easier. There's something I don't understand. Something I was afraid to ask before I asked clearly. It's just that he sometimes resents the fact that my attention is on the patients during breaks. So it's kissing again. Dr. Ethan Grant was like an addict, taking me home every night for long kisses. Those hands on my waist holding me to his lap but not daring to go any further than anxiously rubbing the corners of my coat on the outside. The only time it got out of hand was when Mom posted a picture of that hot blonde guy's abs and he saw it. He was so angry that day that he turned the seat down. His hand also lost control and probed into the hem of his shirt. All explanations were swallowed into his stomach. Such leisurely days didn't last long after all. There had been a serious car accident downtown and hundreds of people had been taken by ambulance to the nearest Central City hospital. Doctors, nurses, and interns from every department in the hospital were out in force. Major surgeries, minor surgeries, and the sound of crying children. A tense atmosphere gripped the hospital. After calling the neighboring hospitals for help, the director himself went into the operating room. After Dr. Ethan Grant urged me to be careful. He was called away by his anxious colleagues, who thought there was an emergency surgery. I went from ward to ward, administering anti-inflammatory fluids to patients who were slightly more seriously injured but did not require surgery. In the meantime, I could not help encountering uncooperative patients. It was a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s, and since his injuries were not as severe as the others, I left him at the end. As a result, he was dragged over there forcefully and ordered to have his wounds treated first. The man looked hideous and seemed to be afraid of death. I had to treat him first in order not to develop a medical emergency. He was injured on his legs and forehead, with large abrasions and a small portion of a bump. The accident happened when the hangnail was administered. Just as I put it on him, he struggled violently because of the pain, and the needle hole was thrown away from him and stuck into my palm. The sting spread from the palm of my hand. The first thing that came to my mind was the word needle stick injury. The man in front of me froze at the sight and instantly went quiet. I stayed calm and stuck the needle in him again. And he didn't struggle this time. Please ask if you have any history of infectious diseases. This is a routine inquiry and nothing more. You can feel free to tell me. The man's eyes averted a little when he heard this. And his tone was fierce. Who are you cursing? I'm going to rest now. Don't bother me. His reaction gave me a bad feeling. After handing over the room to another intern, I took the cotton used to treat the man's blood towards the infectious disease department. My heart feels like it's tied up in a tall building at the moment, with no sense of reality. And the sound of thud seems to be breaking through my chest. I wanted to talk to someone about my fears and worries. But Dr. Ethan Grant was busy as the surgeon in charge. There was only one person sitting in the infection unit. It was also busy. After giving her the patient information and bloodstained cotton, I returned to the hallway just packed with the injured and put on my gloves to participate in assisting in a couple of surgeries. Strange to say, one can often forget a certain part of one's mood when one is busy. The busyness continued until the next morning. Most of the patients were moved in the meantime. Otherwise it would have been another busy day. Dr. Ethan Grant was rushed back to rest by the chief after he had not closed his eyes all night after attending to a few patients with serious injuries. It just so happened that I bumped into him on my way to the infection unit. Like a movie scene. A call from the infection department came in on the cell phone at the same time. I looked at Dr. Ethan Grant, who was walking this way, and pressed the answer button. Dr. Song. The sample you sent in tested 230 for CD4. And a call was made to the lower level hospital to confirm that the patient has long been diagnosed with HIV. And is the only patient carrying an infectious disease today. The worries that had been in my heart came to fruition. And I immediately felt dizzy. What should I do? What should I do? Thank you. I hung up the phone with a trembling hand. With red eyes and blurred vision, I saw that Dr. Ethan Grant, who was a meter away from me, had also received a call from the infection department. Because I left the phone number of the leading teacher on the record. It had been almost 20 hours since I was stabbed. Dr. Ethan Grant hung up the phone and looked at me with a calm and unruffled expression. His deep black eyes reflecting my face as I was about to collapse. It was getting dark. And lights were flickering on all sides of the city. Immediately after receiving the call, Dr. Ethan Grant took me by the hand and led me through all the HIV tests with a normal demeanor, while at the same time picking up a month's worth of PEP medication. The risk of infection is 10% if blocked within 24 hours. The risk of infection is 10% if you block within 24 hours. And with the man not cooperating with the treatment, the risk of infection could go even higher. I sat somewhat frozen in his car, paralyzed by belated fear and trepidation. A gentle breeze blew in from outside the car and hit me in the face. Dr. Ethan Grant returned from picking up his medication. He stroked my head with a relieved look on his face. Just think of it as a bad cold. If only it really was a cold. The car was on its way home. Before I got out of the car, I hung my head and whispered, Dr. Ethan Grant, don't tell anyone yet. Especially my parents. But suddenly it occurred to me that this look might worry him. And I quickly looked up and smiled at him. After all, if my mom finds out, she might go to the hospital and make a scene to get that guy. Ha 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 ha. It's not like she can win the fight. She might even need your help. Hearing my words, the smile that Dr. Ethan Grant just had on his face slowly disappeared to nothing. And his thin lips pursed into a straight line. A pungent spice instantly rushed up my nostrils. And I hurriedly got out of the car, clutching my medication. I want to invite you up for tea. I ran home quickly, my mind filled with the look on Dr. Ethan Grant's face. After a shower, the mood backfired. A mood of brokenness slowly surfaced. The only worry was how to convince Dr. Ethan Grant to separate from me. After all, we've only just been together for a short while. God damn it. For the first 6 months on PEP medication, I had to be tested every month. Big deal. If I wasn't infected after 6 months, I'd go after it again. I'm thick-skinned anyway. Ding. While lying on the couch in the sky, the doorbell suddenly came. After opening the door, Dr. Ethan Grant appeared in the doorway carrying a suitcase. On his clean white face was a soft smile. Living together before marriage is now legal. Sophie Bennett. I looked at the man in front of me and inexplicably felt my heart stabbing. I frowned, trying to hold back the tears, but they still fell drop by drop onto the floor in front of me. I joked with him with a sobbing voice. Dr. Ethan Grant. Have you had a crush on me for a long time? Otherwise, how can you be so obvious in just a few months and do this for me? Dr. Ethan Grant stepped inside the door with his suitcase and closed the door gently with his other hand. The light was blocked from the door, and Dr. Ethan Grant's low raspy voice came from above his head. Otherwise, do you think I'm idly helping you with your middle and high school exams? I also contacted your tutor when you came to my hospital for internship. When you wanted to change hospitals, you made me very angry. But the moment I saw you, my anger was gone. I was always afraid that you would only take me as your brother. But luckily I still have my beauty to tempt you. A pair of hands wrapped me into his arms. I wiped my tears and snot onto his shirt and pushed down the fluttering in my heart and smiled. I thought you were coveting my body. After all, I'm not a bad street dancer. There was a muffled laugh in my ears, and the heat of the fire shivered all the way to the depths of my heart. The side effects of the PEP medication kicked in the middle of the night. At 3:00 a.m., I started vomiting, dizziness, and even heart palpitations. Dr. Ethan Grant immediately wiped my mouth and poured water for me. The look on his face was full of tension and heartache. It was not until dawn that my reaction dropped a little. When I woke up again, Dr. Ethan Grant was no longer there. It should have gone to work. I poured a cup of hot water and sat on the couch to catch up on the previous crime drama. The mood was still pleasant. But to my surprise, Dr. Ethan Grant came back at 11 o'clock. Even though his expression was normal, I felt a hint of abnormality. After entering the door, he went straight to me and hugged and kissed and rubbed against me. Because the results of the infection hadn't come out yet, I was a bit resistant to his closeness. Dr. Ethan Grant got a little frustrated with the situation and went into the bathroom. I made a quick call to the director. The director's side was silent for a long time before he confessed to me. Dr. Jiang punched that AIDS patient who was hiding his condition. So I let him not come to work today. He will come back to work when I transfer the patient to another hospital. I was speechless for a moment. My mouth was open for half a day, but I couldn't get a word out. In the end, it was the director who hung up the phone. Dr. Ethan Grant could do such a thing? The coldness in Dr. Ethan Grant's eyes flashed in my mind before I went to bed this morning. Another wave of heartache came up. I stare at Dr. Ethan Grant in silence as he comes out with a foggy haze. His eyes lingered on the cell phone I was holding for a moment before he silently walked over and sat down next to me. He seemed to have wandered off, his body arching slightly and looking a little tense. I sighed and cupped his hands in front of me, examining them carefully. Thankfully clean and intact, with only some redness in the joints. You mustn't do that, Dr. Ethan Grant. It's dangerous. What if you whack a needle? What if you get a cut on your hand? I choked on my voice and told him. Dr. Ethan Grant's top body thwarted and reached out to cup my face. I'll hold back next time. By the looks of it, I'd be fighting next time. And the director was wise to do so. After a few days of vomiting, I finally felt better. The side effects eventually wore off and disappeared. I started working normally. Although the nurses and doctors at the hospital would occasionally look at me differently, there was no malice in those looks. They were probably thinking, she's the unlucky one who got infected. Luckily, I had a good heart. The day before my 1-month anniversary, I heard a rumor about a neighboring hospital. There was a trainee who also got needle stick injury. Because she was far away from home, she had to stay in the dormitory. When she was taking PEP medication, she was disliked by her roommates and ignored by her teachers. But she didn't dare to tell her family about it. In addition, she was affected by the side effects. So a few days ago, she committed suicide by swallowing a month's worth of PEP medication. When I heard the news, I was shocked and cried. My heart was full of mixed feelings. If I didn't have Dr. Ethan Grant by my side, I would have been in a very bad state right now. The first month's results came back. I was not infected. When I got the test results, I burst into tears again and hugged Dr. Ethan Grant for a few chews. Just to be on the safe side, I stayed on the medication. And I stayed on the tests. Until the test results came back 6 months later. Then my heart fell into my stomach. Those 6 months seemed like a century. And my internship was coming to an end. The tragedy at the neighboring hospital slowly faded away as word of mouth spread. Since then, the hospital has also organized frequent trainings for the interns to strengthen their awareness of self-protection and to enhance the sense of responsibility of the teachers towards their students. Needle stick injury is still a cancer in the medical field, but it can't be solved. It can only be prevented. As I was finishing up my internship report, another thing happened that made me very depressed. Dr. Ethan Grant wanted to move out of my house. He and I stood in front of my bedroom door, and I yanked on his suitcase to prevent him from leaving. Why are you leaving? You said it was legal to live together before marriage. I accused him accusingly. Dr. Ethan Grant was hesitant to say anything. His ears reddened inexplicably, and his eyes lingered suspiciously on me for a moment. Auntie and uncle are coming back. Dr. Ethan Grant said with averted eyes. I didn't understand why he was being so coy. But then I suddenly saw in the floor-length mirror. Because of the white dress I wore after taking a shower, my wet hair made the dress wet. And now it was as if it was transparent. And my pink bodysuit was exposed in the air. No wonder. However, since I've already been seen by him, and since he wants to leave, I don't have any sense of shame at this moment. Mom and Dad will be back when they get back. They have their own house. I puffed out my chest and looked up at him. The knot in Dr. Ethan Grant's throat rises and falls visibly, and his eyes suddenly darken. I shook my head and continued to provoke him. If you dare to leave, I will let Mom bring that foreign handsome guy back. But he called me honey. Before I finished speaking, the suitcase was pushed away by the person in front of me. It hit the door with a loud bang. Your clothes are too wet. Let me help you take them off. Okay? Dr. Ethan Grant pressed me down on the bed, his soft kisses blocking my breath. It was obviously the white dress that was wet. But he stripped me of my tights as well. I wrapped my arms around his neck, panting hard. Only the dress is wet. Dr. Ethan Grant lowered his eyes, his hands no longer holding back, lighting fires all over my body, finally scooping up my legs and placing them around his waist. Sex before marriage is legal too. He gasps. The moment it sinks in, he releases my lips again, pressing his voice against my ear to add, well, get a license tomorrow, Sophie, so I don't have to move. He kept whispering like a child, coaxing me. Okay. I heard me say with difficulty and in a sobbing voice. Can you not say yes? He was the same person I had long Sophie not forgotten.